Hey everybody, science fiction and fantasy author Michael Lauck back with another one of these little internet fireside chat things. Today we're going to actually chat a little bit about a book I just read. But before that, it's been a while, sorry, some things are going on. I'm in a new office with I've got an abstract cityscape paint job going around the place. You can't see it all, but it's there. I've got new glasses. I've got a new affectation with the glasses. The lighting in here could be a little bit better. I'm going to have to work on that before the next video. But that's pretty much what's going on right in the next book. What can I say? Today what I want to talk about, though, is what you could be reading instead of my books. And in this case, it is... Whoa! We'll just drop it on the floor. It's this paperback, which actually came out a bit ago, I think. Judge Dredd Year 1, which came out, printed in the USA. Doesn't say when it was actually printed. The stories were released 2012, 2013, 2014, and that's probably when this book was printed. It was probably 2014. I just heard about it. I have kind of been away from the Judge Dredd comics. I was at the library. I thought to myself, hey, I wonder what's going on with the world of Judge Dredd. I don't even know who's publishing Judge Dredd right now, to be honest. Was a big fan back in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, back when Eagle, I think, was printing the comic books. Judge Dredd, Strontium Dog, ABC Warriors, Rogue Trooper, read all those. Big, just very into that tongue-in-cheek English science fiction. You know, English science fiction, it's its own special niche, and Judge Dredd definitely is an important part of that. So when I went to see about picking up a new trade paperback, see what's going on with Judge Dredd since that last movie, particularly, found that they had an actual book with words and not pictures, like grown-ups read. And I said, wow, I got to get in on that, and then I'll look like a grown-up. And that is one of my main goals in life, is to look like a grown-up. So I grabbed this, and well, let's just start with Judge Dredd has interesting history when he strays from comic books. The first thing is that Sylvester Stallone movie, which is awful. I mean, it might be the worst comic book movie ever made. If you were like, hey, let's come over to the house, we'll, drink some beers, we'll play some Starfleet battles, we'll watch your choice, Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone or Steel with Shaquille O'Neal, probably going to pick Steel. That Judge Dredd movie is awful. It looked like Judge Dredd, but that was it. It only looked like Judge Dredd. The Dredd movie with Carl Urban from a couple years ago, completely different story. That movie was great. I loved that. It didn't really look like Judge Dredd. They didn't have that budget. They missed that, but they got so much of it right. The heart of Judge Dredd was there. It was obviously done by people who loved Judge Dredd. Carl Urban, he's one of these. He's McCoy in the Star Trek reboot movies, which I have mixed feelings about those in general. But he's a great McCoy, and I didn't realize going into it that that's who was Dredd. And had you told me, I'd have been like, I don't know about that. Because I don't think DeForest Kelley could have pulled off Judge Dredd at all. But Carl Urban definitely did. He's a really kind of I expect great things from him in the future. He was in that movie, or that television show, short-lived Fox, I believe, series, Almost Human. I wish it had been given more of a chance because it seemed interesting, but he was really good in that as well. So anyway, Judge Dredd movies, got one really good, one really bad. Not a lot of other multimedia out there for Judge Dredd. There's rumors of a television show coming, but that hasn't come to pass yet. There is, not that I'm aware of at least, no Judge Dredd Saturday morning cartoon, although that would be awesome. There were, however, several audio plays done by Big Finish a few years ago. Big Finish are the people who do the Doctor Who radio plays with as much of the original cast as they could get. They're making Fourth Doctor stories. They're now with Tom Baker and some of the original companions. They work with Peter Davison. They work with Colin Baker. Colin Baker actually really comes into his own as a Doctor in those. The Eighth Doctor stories with Paul McGann are brilliant. He definitely comes into his own since he only has that movie really, and one short otherwise. But Big Finish pretty much does Doctor Who stuff. They do several series of Doctor Who. They do Torchwood. They've done Sarah Jane stuff. Now they have licensing and they can do the new Doctor Who adventures as well. But over the years, they've strayed into some other things, which is good because they do really nice, really good work. I mean, some of their stuff ends up being picked up and played on various BBC stations. It feels very much like Doctor Who when they do that, and they've gone on and they've done. They did Stargate for a while. Both Atlantis and the original SG-1 stuff. Those were fun. They do Blake 7 now, which is, if you're in America, about the only Blake 7 you're gonna lay your hands on. Again, with the original cast as much as possible. Really, just fun products if you're into that kind of science fiction. And for a while, they did some 2000 AD stuff. They did. Judge Dredd and Strontium Dog for sure, because I have a couple Dredd stories and some Strontium Dog. They might have done Rogue Trooper as well. I'm not sure. They don't hold the rights anymore, so you can only get those if you can find CDs, on eBay or at the used comic book CD store. I don't know. Those I enjoyed. Those were a little bit more of the tongue-in-cheek part of Judge Dredd. So, Judge Dredd can jump out of the comic books. It's been successful, I'd say, more often than not, although when it fails big. Which brings us to then the grown-up book with no pictures at all. This is the only picture you get, and it's a good picture. It's a good cover. I went into this a little bit... I don't know. I don't want to say prejudiced, but starting, I don't like year one as a title. DC has done so many year ones. There are other people doing year ones. There are other ways to say Judge Dredd the early days, especially with Judge Dredd. It could be, Judge Dredd rookie year, Judge Dredd, cadet, Judge Dredd, whatever. So I see year one, and there's so many year ones out there. To me, it's the same thing as if there's a sequel to a movie I really love coming out, but the best name they can think of it for it is the same title, 2. Yeah, I mean, even Breakin' came up with Electric Boogaloo, so all movies should be, if you're going to just cop out and name your sequel blah 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 2, you should at least be blah 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 2 Electric Boogaloo. And it's not that it guarantees it's bad, but I just, right there is the gut, like, you couldn't think of a name. You couldn't even be bothered to think of a name. Are you just cashing in? That's kind of how I felt going into this. Nothing against any of the three authors, Michael Carroll, Al Ewing, or Matt Smith. And there are 3 authors because this is an omnibus edition. This is actually a collection of 3, I'd call them novellas. They're all over 100 pages. That I think were originally released as ebooks back in the day. But the three stories together talk about Judge Dredd's first year on the streets after he's out of the academy. One of the stories is actually mainly set before he's out of the academy, and one of them is really Rico-centric. Judge Dredd's almost not in there, and which is the other reason that this is Judge Dredd Year 1. It's maybe not the best title, but get over it. Get into it. Quite enjoyed Judge Dredd Year 1. It has, like I said, three stories. City Fathers, which was gritty, does not have the humor that I like in the Judge Dredd comic books. A lot of that humor, however, are background gags, visual gags, goofy names and addresses and things like that. So I can see where, as an author, you maybe choose not to do that. Cold Light of Day, it works a little bit more in. It references things like hobbies like cereal commercial reenacting and things like that. Not really the full-on Judge Dredd treatment, but another very, very decent story. That one having a lot to do with Judge Dredd in his academy days and a particular mission. Rico also figures into that one. And then the third one is, to my mind, in a way the most Judge Dredd story. And the third one's called Wear Iron. It really follows the criminal through this. A stick-up man who's not quite living up to his own rules. One of his rules being wear iron, meaning wear a gun. And where that gets him. Also, Rico, again, figures into this story much more than Dredd does for most of it. So, in a way, it's the least of the Judge Dredd stories, because Judge Dredd definitely figures in, the fewest number of pages. However, it's about a heist being planned and pulled off at the first big eating competition among the quote unquote the fatties of Mega City 1, which, if you're familiar with the comic books, you'll know about this subculture. And it doesn't hit the tongue-in-cheek. There's not the puns. But it definitely gets into that, like, the whole twisted story of how this eating competition comes to be and why it's such the perfect opportunity to pull off a heist is very, very in line with the humor of the comics and the kind of dismal, weird things gone wrong. So it was probably my favorite, to be honest. That one was written by Al Ewing, who's a writer for Marvel, I believe, a lot of the time. So, definitely familiar with comics. Definitely got Judge Dredd. I was not disappointed by a single story in this book. I probably am going to... This is a library copy, like I said, but I'm probably going to have to actually pick this up and add this to my collection. And if you are a fan of Judge Dredd, I totally think it's worth your time to pick up. Meaning Judge Dredd the comic. If you know Judge Dredd mainly from Dredd the movie, or God forbid, from Judge Dredd, the movie with Sylvester Stallone, pick this up. It's worth your time. It's nice in that if it's not your cup of tea, or if it's not quite your cup of tea, you have three very different takes. Thanks to having three different stories and three different authors. I'm not even sure if there are more of these omnibus editions. I'm going to look, because I'd like to actually read more about the world of Judge Dredd. They had a nice comic book feel, but also a very adult science fiction. It's not the hard edge science fiction. It's not the brainy science fiction of Asimov. It's not the super high tech. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of things. Well, I can't think of an author like that off the top of my head, but they're out there. It has a comic book kind of meets pulp feel. Easy reads, great reads. If you're a commuter, you're looking for something to read at lunchtime, this is the thing. Judge Dredd Year 1, Abaddon Books. I do suggest that. And I can't really say, hey, if you love this, it ties right into one of my books. I don't really write anything like this. I have my own take of law enforcement in the future, and that would be The Heist, Black Sky Rangers, my series that right now is a series of one book, but we'll be changing that soon. You can find the details of that over on swordsandrayguns.com. That's mine. Find the details on this on, pretty sure it's on Amazon if you're in America, but Abaddon Books, ABODDONBOOKS.com. They should have the details where you can get these still in the ebook edition or as paperback. I'm going to say, well, I don't want to say 2 thumbs up. I think you get sued if you say that. And really, there's only one of me. But I'm just going to say, hey, worth reading, worth your time. Thanks for hanging out. If you have read this or if you have Judge Dredd stuff here, comment. Let me know. And if you get a chance, run over to the website, swordsandrayguns.com. Excuse me, join the mailing list. I've neglected the mailing list. Been bad about that. But I think in the next few months we're going to pick that up. I'm not going to bug you with a bunch of crap. I'm not going to just send out stuff very often, honestly. But when I do, I'm getting ready to do some more free short stories. There are some on my website, but some more free stuff. And maybe some experiments with audio stories and audio books too. That's going to go out to the mailing list first. So you want to be on it if you want free stuff. swordsandrayguns.com. Thanks for hanging out. Comments down below. And I think I'm going to do more reviews soon. If you have something you'd like me to review or like my take on, comments, again, let me know. And I will see you soon.